Okay, Wanda, tell me a little bit about yourself.
See, I'm a military brat.
Okay.
So I was born in Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and moved a lot around through there. And then my father retired here in El Paso. So that's why I'm now living in El Paso, Texas for the last about 12 years now. And been educating here since then.
And your education?
I have my bachelor's degrees from Fayetteville State University, and my master's degree is from the University of Texas at El Paso.
Okay, good. And where have you worked up to this point?
At this point, I've only worked in El Paso ISD. I was a kindergarten teacher at Logan Heights Elementary School, which is on the military base. I was a math coach at a Dow Elementary, and then was an assistant principal at Crosby Elementary, and then now I'm the principal here at Travis Elementary.
Okay, good. Well, tell us some of the things that you're proud of with the school here.
Wow.
That you've been able to do. How long have you been here?
This is my third year, the beginning of my third year.
Okay.
At this school, we have come an awesome team. I can pretty much put it out there in the universe, and the team will pick up on that. We've done a lot of professional development, a lot of training. So now this year, we're just really smoothly implementing, and I have a great team, just from administrative, counselor, teachers, paras. You ask anybody to do anything, and they're about that. And I think we really built that culture to do that. And so we're really seeing it come to light. And so almost everything we've been touching lately has been successful, but I think it's just because the whole team has taken ownership over making the campus successful.
And how would you define culture?
Culture is just, it's one of those words, right?
I know.
So it's one of those words. So what I do is that first, when you walk through the doors, how do you feel? What are the expectations of everyone in that building? All the, they would say that magic word, stakeholders. How do the kids feel? Do they, where is the ownership? I always say, we live here. Sometimes we're here with each other when we're at home. So what kind of home would you want for that? So it's kind of that expectations, feelings, working with each other. And the big thing for me is you're not in this alone. Yes, this is your class, and you might have a low class this year. But it's not just your problem. It's all of our problems. So let's bring it to the table and see how all the counselor, the AP, our teacher assistants, how everybody can work so that everything's team approach. Because I think a lot of times teachers get frazzled when they have some behaviors or they have really low kids. But then that culture is, but you're not in it alone. You're never in it alone. Bring it to the table so that we can figure out how to make it work.
And what kind of results does that create with the kids?
Wow. With the kids, I think they know this school's taking care of me. And not just am I learning at the right rate, but if I have problems at home, if I have other things I need to talk about. And they're trying their best, and it makes it free to make mistakes. Especially since I have a lot of English language learners, they got to know that they could speak out, they could talk to me. Even though I may not know Spanish, they're trying, and they know I'm waiting and I'm willing, and they're going to see me try to speak Spanish to them, and I'm not afraid to make a little bit of a fool of myself doing that. But it's a safe zone to be able to do all of that. So when you have that safe zone for learning, plus the high expectations, it's really working well together, and we're really seeing that come together.
Okay, tell us a little bit about your use of Lexia.
Well, we started last year. I want to say like November of last year. And the goal for me was let's just get the kids on. Because, I've heard other principals tell me, oh, this program works. But really for me, it was just like, I don't know for sure if it works, but I know if we don't use it, I'll never know. Mm-hmm. So we just started off with, are you using the program? We started off maybe 30-40% usage when we first started. And so we're building. So the very first thing we did when I looked at usage was, why is your usage so low? So I have here what we call data conferences, where I either have one of my instructional coaches and myself. So in this case, it would be my reading instructional coach. And we would pull the teacher in with all their data. Okay.
How often do you do that?
I do that, since we do TPRI, which is a Texas Primary Reading Inventory, we do that 3 times a year. I'll at least meet with them after that big assessment. And then we'll do fluency checks. And I'll do fluency checks with my Tier 3s. Those are every 9 weeks. So then I'll meet with those teachers then again. When we do that, we're looking at all data. So I have a data binder, and I have one. Somebody stole it. Somebody took over there. But where every assessment we do with the kids is in there. So I have that teacher here, and I start looking. What's going on? What are our kids? Who's struggling? Who's not? When we got to Lexia, it was like, why aren't you making your minutes? Well, I don't have this. I don't have that. I don't have time. Well, this is no excuses. So now let's do it. You know what? We'll give you extra time in the computer lab. or I did buy an iPad cart station. So, okay, you know what? Your bilingual class, some of your kids need more minutes. That mobile cart's going to come to you on Mondays and Wednesdays. So that now you have your computer lab time and your mobile iPad cart time. We also have about 3 to 5 iPads per classroom. So that goes around as well. So there's a no excuse when it comes to getting your kids on in your minutes. Yeah. So and it worked out great, because after a while I had teachers come and be like, well, I don't want computer lab on Mondays anymore. Like, why? Because we're always out of school on Mondays. And if we're out of school on Mondays, I miss my computer lab time and my kids don't get on. So we're having that kind of thing, like, no, I need this time. I don't want to be right after lunch, because by the time they go to the bathroom and get water, a lot of my time is taken up. So so they're bringing that to me, which is what I want them to do. Bring it to the table so we can work out some kinks of, I don't want the excuse of I don't have the time or I don't have the technology. Let's work that out. And so we do have, where certain classrooms might have 2 computer lab times. And I don't do that for everyone, but it might be that, gosh, a lot of those kids have 80, 100 minutes per week. Yeah. We need to come up with another way of getting them on. We also here, we're the Tornadoes, we do what we call Tornado Learning Time. That's part of our RTI process. So with that, if we have kids with tons of minutes and we have a big board where we have every student on a Post-it note, and we move those kids around based on the intervention that they need based on the data. If we look at their Lexia and they have 80 to 100 minutes, well, now during our Tornado Learning Time, which is first thing in the morning, 3 days a week, they'll be going there to get that additional time. Okay. So we're constantly trying to find ways of making sure they get that in, because now that we've got the students on and we've proven that if they're on there, their results will get better, now the teachers can bring that, you know what, I need him to be in this intervention because he's struggling or he's behind, or if we get new immigrants from Mexico and they're needing more of the English, what we'll do is, they set it up to where it gives them the directions in Spanish. They have to start working on that English, so that's a good feature. So then we'll put them in that intervention. And that intervention rotates every month. So we're able to now reanalyze, okay, in the month, are they ready to go on to a different type of intervention, or are we still struggling to get those kids on during the school day, and then keep them in that group. So that's every month where we're looking at that and tweaking that as needed.
But what is your reading proficiency level for the school?
For right now is when you were looking at our DIP, which is our data form plan, is that our kinders, first and seconds, at kindergarten we had 90% of our kids on level by the end of the year. In first grade we were at 88%, and at second grade we were at 92%, which was amazing, and a lot of that helped us because of the Lexia. In third and fourth grade we have been tweaking through that. And so we have been making strides in that area as well. But where we're really seeing the biggest part of the Lexia working for us is in those lower grades, because we started with our pre-Ks, and it's going from kinder first. And so when you're looking at our second grade teachers now that we've kind of been using the program for a couple of years, they're coming and saying, like, wow, our second graders are a lot higher and reading more proficiently on their own than in previous years.
So when they go to third grade.
And that's what we're hoping to see this next school year. Because what's really hard, one of the reasons why I purchased Lexia is this campus has a 40% mobility rate. So I've got kids constantly coming in, going out, and then we still got to get them up to par. And some of these kids are military, so they're coming from other states with different standards. And, we're trying to get them into what, Texas has. And so you're kind of like, okay, where do we start? So we needed something quick and effective. Jump on there. Tell me where you're at. This is what we do, because with that turnover rate, we can't always have teachers always going so far backwards, because, you're going to get a group of kids a day, and then especially like right now, we're probably going to lose a lot of students. We come back from Christmas, we're going to get a bunch of students, and we need to have something quick and effective that's, systematic, where we can't keep starting over because we have a new crop of kids coming in. So that was something that's stable. It's where everybody is. And now, too, with Texas having the growth, like we want to see growth, we want to see how much you're growing. If I can have a kid that's high, we're not holding them back, because it's going to keep going and working with them on the level that they're at. So we do have some, like I have a pre-K student right now that's working on first grade level skills. I have a third grader that's working on fifth grade level skills. I have fourth graders that are starting to exit out of the program because they're already meeting master and fifth grade skills. But that's what we want. We don't want them always sitting behind waiting to do, because a lot of times we're intervention kids. We got to get the low kids. But now those high kids are still getting what they need as well.
Yeah. What do you use to determine grade level?
Well, within we again, that part of our data conferences, like we do use the Lexia and we put them in and let that, we run those reports and see where they're at. Right. And then what we do is we kind of have this table, and that's another part of the puzzle. Okay, here's our Lexia, here's our TPRI, we do fluency, and we do sight words. So let's say that's our K1 and 2.
Do you do short cycle assessments?
At this point, we do have our common assessments. We were doing DRA assessments as well. And then what ended up happening is the Lexia kind of helped us with that, because instead of stopping instruction for many, many days to do those assessments, we kind of already have it there. And there's our grade level, and this is where we're at. Yeah. So then we've taken the DRA and the guided reading charts, and then now we have, okay, here's our Lexia level. It's in the second grade range. Here's the beginning second grade range. Okay, where does that fall for DRA? Where does that fall for, for our guided reading level, and put that in. And so we do have our common assessments, and then we do use our fluency. We do our sight words. And so we have different little pieces of assessment, and then put that all together to make our determinations.
Now, at the end of the year, you have a state test, don't you?
Well, not in the lower grades, but we do have the STAR in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Uh-huh. Yes.
And how does that relate to the...
At this point for us, what we're seeing is our goal has been get the kids to be on or as close to grade level as possible by the time they get to 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Yeah.
Because, and that's something new that we're still looking at, but I'm seeing where we're progressing to that, because when I got to this camp, which I'll say this is now the beginning of my 3rd year, kids weren't going into grade level, and they were all sometimes coming in multiple grade levels behind. So then you're asking them to do a state assessment that they're not ready to get ready for, because they were not reading on grade level. Right. So that's been our goal. And so the goal is year after year after year, how close are they to grade level? So
did you see any improvement last year?
Yes, I did see a huge improvement. And what I see a huge improvement with us is that our English language learners, we're closing the gap a lot more effectively, and just, I don't want to say quickly. Not it's not overnight.
Right.
But I actually have something in hand that shows me, because the one thing that we were lacking before is we do have our TELPAS assessment, but that's at the end of the year, and it's only given once a year. But as the year's trekking on, I can't see that progress that student may be making. So if I get a student from Mexico and he's at a kindergarten level in 3rd grade, how fast is he moving up to get as close to grade level as I can get him? Am I going to get him to 3rd grade? Maybe not.
Yeah.
But how fast can I get there, or how close can we get there? Lexia helps me with that, because there's something systematic. So it's not some like, okay, well, we got a little program over here and we're trying to do it, but you still can't gauge what does that mean grade level wise. So Lexia's give us a grade level wise. So yeah, he's still behind and he's not on grade level, but he went from maybe pre-K, K English skills to 1st grade skills. And even though we may still be supporting them in the classroom in Spanish, this is something that I can know that's going to work with them in English, that's going to move them along. Yeah. And that we actually have data to show how it's moving. So that's one thing I do see. Like, we may have some 3rd graders. Like last year, I noticed we had a lot of 3rd graders that were like pre-K, K, 1st grade skills in English, because they're English language learners. But like by the end of the year, they were working on 2nd grade skills or beginning 3rd grade skills. So they were making those improvements. And the main thing was, and all we did last year pretty much was make sure they were on. This year, I've kind of gotten a little, okay, teachers, how much time are you logging in? Teachers, show me, let's do something with this data that they're showing us. But last year, it was just, if it says 40 minutes, get them on 40 minutes. If it says 60 minutes, 60, and that's all we did was make sure that they were in and not stuck.
Yeah.
And not stuck. Okay, well, hey, look, and I would run the report, look, you have 5 kids stuck. And guess what? And then I run the other report that says, you've only logged in twice. So you don't know these kids are stuck because you haven't logged in. So and I would just do random reports. So they say, okay, yeah, now they're on. Great. Thank you so much for getting them on. Okay, now they're on and they're not getting anywhere because they're stuck. Now
do you have any resistance from the teachers on?
I didn't. I was expecting some. But I think what has happened is with that team thing, by doing that data conference and making it, well, what can I do to help you be successful? That made the difference, because I'm not saying we'll figure it out. I'm saying, okay, well, let's get the iPad cart to you. Will it work to have it half day? Would it work to have it full day? Do you need another a computer lab time? Do you need, if you have some of your students that can come before or after school, our lab is open 4 days a week before and after school. If you have some kids that, you may want them to keep them for after school time or something else, have them come in the morning to do. So we have so many interventions in there, other ways to make it successful, that again, the teacher doesn't feel like it's only on them to get all their students in. They could sit there when we meet for what we call our transition of our groups for our tornado learning time. They say, this kid has a lot of minutes and I can't get him in. Okay, then we need to put that kid, in the computer lab for this month, and let's see if we can get them going. And maybe that then will lower the minutes, because once they start making some progress, they won't have 80 minutes per week.
Exactly.
So then we could start maybe lowering those minutes. So I really didn't get the resistance, and then now that the teachers see the growth, that's why our time is so good, because now, like I said, they're fighting for, I don't want the computer lab on Monday because we're out on Mondays. Oh, it's a half day. We need to get in. And then my computer lab person who's in the instructional para, she already makes the determination, okay, it's a half day on Friday. Let me see if I can squeeze you guys in another time during the week. So she's taking ownership as well. So that's why I say we have a great team, because I don't have to micromanage that. I've given her that ball. She's running with it. She knows her responsibilities. And just like I told you yesterday, when I put in the reports in the teachers' boxes and they got it, they go running straight to her to say, we need to get us in there, get us in the lab, do what we need to do. So she is taking that on to, like, you know what, we're getting out half today. You guys better get in here today, or we have a special program. You want to get in? Do you want me to change your time? Do you want me to bring you the cart? So we so I don't think the teachers feel that pressure to where it's only on me to figure out